Can we talk about England again for a little bit?
We certainly can.
I just thought, now that it's all done and dusted, we won't dwell on it for too long because ultimately, what's the point? I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. There's no point crying over spilt milk and all of this other whatever other like grandmas used to say about things back in the day. But I kind of felt like it was about time that we gave some kind of like, do you remember like back in school? And it might have been different because there is a bit of an age gap between the two of us. But like I remember, you'd get to the end of like a term or something, and your primary school teacher would be like, must try harder, talks too much, um, whatever those kind of things are. And I kind of felt like that seems like a really sensible thing to do for these England blokes from this 2023 World Cup. Now that I'm pretty sure they're back home, aren't they? I think I saw Dave Willie back on his like mansion estate thing in Northamptonshire on social media. So I'm pretty sure they're all back home. So we're safe. We can talk about that and we're all right.
Yeah, they are back from what I gather. How would you like to go about it? Because obviously there's 15 players.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that I've got it written down was the batting order from their last game against Pakistan.
Okay.
But we can do it in alphabetical order. I think that equally makes sense.
No, I'm quite happy to go because how I've got it down in front of me here is by
Or-
average,
As
which
in,
is
like, batting average.
batting and bowling average. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm quite happy to go. I'm quite happy to go your way. Go your way, Joe.
Okay, then. So, number 1, David Milan. So, he scored the most runs. Isn't going to West Indies. He scored one of the 2 centuries scored by England in the World Cup. And I don't think he did too badly. I think he built on his momentum that he built for himself in those ODIs that we saw in September and kind of carried that form on, as you rightly predicted. So I've got Milan down. He's near the top of the class. He's got a B for me.
Yeah, I think a B is a really nice letter for him. As you said, like the strike rate's high, like just over 100, averaging 45. I was a little bit surprised he wasn't included in the West Indies stuff because he doesn't play the test stuff, does he? So it's not like I'm sure I don't know, and the West Indies is quite a nice place to go. So I would have thought people would be queuing up to get out there for a little bit of a break. Yeah, I think B's nice. I think B is a good thing, and I think it would probably say something along the lines of gets distracted easily by classmates, has potential to, do you know what I mean? That kind of like really good, but also like just kind of hangs out with the naughty kid a little bit and just kind of gets dragged down a touch. So yeah, I think a nice B for David Milan, I think would be a nice little starter. And that's quite high, probably the highest that we're going to get, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a tough school that we're in, unfortunately, for these 15 lads. So, with that in mind, moving on to Johnny Bairstow. Now, for me, he
Should have
scored
picked Folks.
200. He scored 215 runs opening the batting. What was his average? You've got that in front of you.
23.8 is average.
23.8. Okay, right. That's not. Unfortunately, that's not the standard of an international opening batter across 9 games in a World Cup. So I just wasn't that impressed. He did score a couple of 50s. However, as we know, you need to go on and convert, don't you? And I felt like he just gave his wicket away too often. He was being well and truly dragged down by his teammates. Might have got sent out of the class a few times. I've got him as an E grade, unfortunately. Poor Johnny.
I thought you were going to go D. I'll be honest, but E's fine. E's fine, and I think it just gets summed up really nicely at the bottom of the report card in like some glittery pen that just says like "must try harder." I genuinely think that is what that just says, and Johnny ends up going back to mum and dad's and kind of goes, "Have you got your report card?" And he goes, "Nah, the dog ate it on the way back home." And it's one of those that just never gets in.
Joe Root, much like Bairstow, didn't convert any of his 50s into the hundreds that we know he's capable of. But he did score 3 of them. And he got a wicket as well. 276 runs. You know, just try and help his cause. So he scored, 59 more runs than Bairstow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with that in mind, I've given him a D. So he's a level above Bairstow, just based on the fact he scored basically 60 more runs. You need to convert, Joey boy.
He's the kind of kid. He had a great term the season before, like a great term. One of the best kids in the school. Like got the little kind of badges. Might have been like head boy and stuff like that. And then discovered something like, let's call it Pokemon cards, and just became incredibly distracted by his work, by his classmates. So yeah, like got distracted by the Pokemon cards. And I think the parents are going to be disappointed. I think the teachers and the faculty are going to be really disappointed. I don't quite think he kind of understands the magnitude of it, because I think he's quite excited by like the shiny Pikachu that he got the other day. Not good enough.
Ben Stokes, 304 runs in his 6 games. He did score the other 100 in addition to the one scored by David Milan. The back end of the tournament, and a couple of 50s. So he did okay. You know, he was billed as the one that they wanted back. You can't play if Ben Stokes is offering his services to you. You're not saying no.
True.
That's how it went into the tournament, wasn't it? Missed the first couple, and he was slow in his stride. But you know, back end of the term, his progress was vastly accelerated. But we didn't see any of the fireworks and the big displays that we know he's capable of and has done on the international stage and in an England shirt before. So I guess that means that as teachers in this school, we were just left a little bit disappointed with him. Just a little bit. We'll give him a C, so we'll pass him.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaged 50, Joe. He's averaged 50 in the tournament with that 102 50s. 26 fours and 11 sixes. So he's clear of Dawid Malan by 5 or 6 runs in terms of average. So as you said, like started off a little bit, as you said, disengaged with the injury. But I think maybe the quiet word kind of after school one day, maybe a bit of a detention or something like that, just fired him back up again, and he seemed to get his head down, didn't he? Which was nice to see. But yeah, I think C. I think you have to take into account the start of the tournament.
Oh, the captain.
Yeah.
That burden of responsibility in this tournament for our Joss. He just didn't get off the ground at all, did he?
I'm not even sure he
just
turned
really
up.
didn't. I saw his Instagram post yesterday and it was quite heartfelt, and you just know that he'll bounce back. He's one of those players. We spoke about Maxwell last week being a kind of once in a generation player.
Yeah, true.
Butler is that. He's got freakish skills, and his record in India in the IPL in the past couple of years has been fantastic. But he just, like you said, he just didn't turn up. 138 runs with only a high score of 43. That's mucky, isn't it? Really mucky.
Yeah. He's been playing hooky. Like, let's be honest, like he's just not even turned up for school some of these days. His mum's kicked him out the door early in the morning, said, get on the bus, make your way down there. And he's gone, yeah, no worries, I'll get there fine. And he's gone down the local park and just played football with his mates all day. That's what's happened. Like he spent his lunch money on Lucozade and Haribo's, and he's gone and chucked his jumpers down and just played football he's had a great time. Well, no, he probably hasn't in reality, but he's kind of missed out on what he should have been doing by doing something else. So yeah, I'm not even convinced. Well, I think it's probably an F. I think his F is probably the lowest that we can probably get. He's got the same average of Adil Rashid with the bat, Joe.
Oh, you went F. I went E. I did.
No,
yeah.
You're too nice. You're swayed by the heartfelt Instagram post yesterday. That's what you've done. You're like, oh, he's such a lovely bloke, and I'm sure
I've
he
let
is.
my emotions come into it. It's one of those when you've got to have right. Teachers always say they don't have favourites in their class, don't they? Absolute rubbish. Maybe that too. Absolute rubbish. They want to give him an F, but because he's nice and he does try, and he's got that soft side to him, but he's just not got the output this term. Harry Brook, 6 games for him. He obviously started in the beginning in place of Stokes, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he only scored 169 runs in his 6 games, which included a 50 against Afghanistan. in that game that England lost. Now, for me, when I think back to that innings, I reckon if he gets closer towards 100 and just sticks around for a bit longer, England will win that game. Yeah. And then their tournament could look a little bit different, right? But that didn't happen. So he's gone in with so much promise, building into the start of the tournament off the summer that he had over here. And again, didn't fail to adapt to the conditions, really, is probably what you would say. And for me, he's got a D. Harry Brook. I feel like you might have gone a bit harsher.
I think so. I can add a little bit of context to this. I don't really think it happens in England, but when you watch things in America and like the kids are like, "Oh, he's so clever. He skipped a year." Kind of feels like that's what Harry Brook's done. Like he's just been bumped up from like year 2 to year 4. Like he's skipped year 3 altogether, and he's been bumped up because of how well he did last term in the summer. And that kind of feels like what's happened. And as you said, he kind of hasn't really adapted to those conditions. The curriculum's been just a little bit too tough. Like that kind of early algebra that they were working on just didn't really work for him. So I kind of feel like he's the boy wonder. He's like kind of the genius kid in the school that they just pushed forward, and they've just pushed it a little bit too far. He's not hanging out with his mates anymore. He's kind of playing football on the playground with different kids, and that's why. And I think you can kind of caveat that and you can kind of give him a D. Not being good, but as I say, it'd be harsh to kind of mark him too far down, because ultimately he is kind of a grade above where he should be, I think.
It's just excellent analogy from you, Dan. I have nothing else to add.
Don't get this on TMS, do you?
Chris Woakes. Chris Woakes. 10 wickets. He ended up with 10 wickets in his 8 games and 131 runs. I'm going to include his runs because he is an all-rounder and he scored a 50.
Absolutely, yeah.
Again, he's a popular member of the class, but again, it was like he was a little bit distracted or isolated at the beginning of the term. Really was a bit all over the place. He might have had something going on at home. You don't know his background.
Yeah.
Teachers spoke to him a few times after the kind of the 3rd or 4th week of realising he was a little bit disconnected from what was going on in the classroom. And well, they turned him around because he finished up all right at the end of the term. He didn't come through too bad. The forecast wasn't looking great, but he's exceeded his predicted grade, is what I would say, for Woakes. So I've given him a C.
Yeah, honestly, Joe, I think you've summed that up quite poetically, and I don't think I can add anything more to it. I think you've ticked all the right boxes there for Christopher. And I think there's room for improvement, but ultimately, as you say, he kind of picked things up as the tournament progressed, didn't he? So I think I agree with you. I think it's a nice letter. David
Willey, he's the one you feel sorry for in the class. He might be a bit of an outcast, you might say, the only person in the class or the squad not to be given an England contract next year. You wouldn't say he's in the starting 11 at the beginning of the tournament. He's got in opportunistically as a result of Reece Topley's injury, but he's contributed in his 6 games. He's taken 11 wickets, second behind Adil Rashid, and with the bat, he's had a few little cameos and he's hit 6 sixes. And obviously, I've drawn on the 6s because we all love dingers.
Yeah. We all know that's the first thing you look at a scorecard.
Yeah. He was really pretty effective with the new ball, and he came back in the later stages and didn't do too badly either with his bowling. Obviously got Kohli out, which is like gold dust in this World Cup. So for me, David Willey, his final bow out of international cricket, he's moving on to a new school, is David Willey. So we're sending him off on a high, and he's got a B.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's one of those kids. The governors have basically kicked him out, and he's got to go to state school next year, and that's going to be hard to adjust. We know how these England cricketers and state schools, they don't really kind of go together, do they? But he's one of those lads. He's kind of taken that as motivation, hasn't he? And he's kind of gone, well, I'm going to stick two fingers up to the governors here, and I'm going to prove them that they've definitely made the wrong decision. The teachers still like him though. The teachers have a lot of they're a big fan of Dave Willey, so that's why I think the B is still a really important kind of letter to give him. It's not everybody's against Big Dave. He's outperformed, as you said, opportunistic with the injury to Topley, but I mean he has outperformed Sam Curran like by weeks in this tournament. He has obviously Sam Curran's got the gig and Dave Willey hasn't. So yeah, a B for Dave.
Gus Atkinson, new boy in the class. He's actually just joined from a new school, quite opposite to Dave Willey.
Yeah, it's a school where they get a lot of kids from, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, really, really good school that they like to poach children from. That sounds very awful.
It does a little bit, yeah. Like chitty, chitty, bang, bang.
Anyway, they've got this young kid and he's raw and he's got plenty of pace, and they kind of see him as a bit of Mark Wood's understudy is how you'd probably describe him. So he's being mentored in the class to kind of ease himself in, shall we say, to his new surroundings. And that's told. He's been then inexperienced in international cricket, got whacked around a bit, taken 4 wickets in 3 games. I mean, not awful, but probably wanted his numbers to be a little bit better. And he did get 35 in that partnership with Mark Wood at the back end against South Africa when the game was dead and gone, and he was just having a little bit of fun, a little bit of recreational time. I've got Gus Atkinson on a D.
Yeah, I feel like his chances to shine have been limited, haven't they? He's only played the 3 games, but I think that probably speaks volumes because of that inexperience and testament to the fitness of Mark Wood, really, to get the games in that he managed to play throughout the tournament. I don't think many would have expected him to have maybe played 7 out of the 9. I think probably, and it's no disrespect to Gus Atkinson, I think he's going to be a really good player and I think he's really exciting, but I think the selection was almost kind of acknowledgement of how injury-stricken that England kind of fast bowling cartel is. We obviously just heard about Jofra's elbows played up again, and he's not going to be around for another little bit, which hopefully we will see him again. But people like Saqib Mahmood, they're kind of in the knackers yard at the moment as well. So yeah, I think a D. I think a D is kind of the grade that you almost like start at, if that makes sense, and you can go up and down from there. And I think it'd be harsh really to kind of move him either way.
That's a fair summation. Now Adil Rashid, leading wicket taker with 15 wickets, was well and truly the leader of the attack. He probably could have taken even more, you felt. He was a little bright spark, probably just quietly going about his business and his work. An unassuming character in the classroom, and he's performed. I've given him a B.
Yeah, I think to have him at the same as Dawid Malan, I think is completely right. He's class on grass, isn't he, Adil? Let's be completely honest about it. And I think his commitment to the team, to the class, I think was impeccable. And I think it stood out in that South Africa game when, I mean, he was basically on his knees, wasn't he, throughout that entire bowling spell, being propped up by Moeen, being like force-fed painkillers and Imodiums and Lucasades and all this other stuff that he needed to get through that game. I think a B for the elder statesman, I think is the right thing to do.
We move on to the players that weren't involved in that final game against Pakistan. But we'll start with Reece Topley, who obviously had to jet back home after fracturing his finger in that game against South Africa, and he was really impressive in the 3 games that he played. 8 wickets. He promised a lot. If England had him available for the rest of the tournament, again, you might think that they could have been in a slightly different position. They could have been challenging for that 4th qualification spot potentially.
Yeah, the losing margins might have been less.
Yeah, there is definitely that. But he's always off sick, is Reece.
Yeah.
There must be something in his household. Yeah. But he always comes in with his planner and his mum's written him a note when he does come in to say that he's got to leave early or something like that.
Yeah. Reece can't do cricket
extracurricular
today.
activities. Yeah. He's He's got a few. He's carrying a few injuries. Leaving that aside, leaving the attendance part of it aside, I've gone for a B for Reece.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think it could have been downgraded to a C as a result of his lack of attendance, shall we say? But he promised a lot. He was impressive.
Yeah. I think that's a nice letter. I think the poor punctuality is probably out of his control, though. I think that's probably where that caveat comes in. So, a B from 3 games, I think, is if you were to extrapolate those figures and you were to take them through all 9 games, then I think you'll kind of start talking about him being one of the best seamers in the tournament, don't you, at that point? 8 wickets in 3 games. I don't know. I think I'd probably put him at a C, but as you've kind of adopted the role of head teacher here, then B it is.
I've become head teacher and overruled your grade that you've presented to me. Mark Wood. Now, he picked up a bit of a niggle, didn't he? Which is why Gus Atkinson finished the last 2 games when England realised they were toast. Just the 6 wickets for Mark Wood in his 7 games.
Yeah.
And 85 runs. Yeah, it's not what you want from your premium quick, is it? And he had that cameo of 43 not out against South Africa. Rocked up every game, so much effort, so much pace. Always gives 100%, 110%. You see that in his output. He's one of the most hardworking students in the class, and I feel like he lacked reward for the work that he put in. It's almost like he was doing oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called. You know, like in maths when you do like a foundation paper. What's the other paper called?
Some kind of advanced thing, maybe?
Yeah, advanced. It's like he's done the advanced paper, written all the answers to the foundation ones, answers instead. But so with that in mind, I've got Mark Wood on a D.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because I don't think it's not through lack of effort this term. I just don't think he's got to grips with the curriculum, has he, this time around? I think maybe he's been a little bit unlucky as well. You know, like in the old, like, when you used to have to make things, it's almost like somebody's tripped him up on the way back to the desk and it's like fallen on the floor, and it's kind of like it's been so close. Like maybe he's had to bake like a Victoria sponge or something like that, and his mate Stokesy thought it'd be funny just to trip him on the way past, and the Victoria sponge ended up on the floor, but the teacher never saw the trip. That is the thing. And then the teacher kind of thinks, he's just thrown it on the floor again. It's not really worked. As you said, the advanced paper, the questions were just a bit tough. Like measuring the inside of a triangle just was not on the curriculum for Woody this time. But yeah, I mean, he's tried bloody hard, hasn't he? He really has tried hard. And you gave him a D, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, you want to give him an E, don't you?
No, I want to give him a C. I want to give him a C for effort. Like I want to give him like a nice little sticker on his school bag and give him a pat on the back and say you'll be back better next year. But yeah, I think D's probably right, and I don't really want to say it.
It's a bit sad, isn't it? Like when I look on the little report card, he could have quite easily come away with a C. Him and his mate Wokesy, Stokesy and Woody all walking off with their C's. But as it turns out, he's in the club with Rooty, Brookie and Gussie. Now, the final 2 I'm actually going to do together because I feel
we got 3. Moeen, Sam Curran and Liam Livingstone.
Oh, I forgot about Moeen.
Okay,
let's go for Moeen.
You could have been forgiven if you'd have got about Livingstone.
Okay, right.
And Sam Curran, to be fair, but
I don't have Moeen's stats because I'm an imbecile and I've missed it
95 runs at an average of 15, with 5 wickets at an average of 49. He played 6 games, and just I think to kind of sum that up quite quickly is I don't think. Do you know what, his selection over the last couple of tournaments and series and things have kind of perplexed me a little bit. He is vice captain, isn't he, in this team? I believe it does kind of perplex me a little bit because I don't really feel like over the last 3 or 4 years in white ball cricket that England have ever really like invested in Mo ball. Like they've never kind of put big money in Mo coin. And so at that point there, I don't really know. It confuses me because he's a much better cricketer than walking out at like number 7 to go and club a few at the end. And I think he's a much better bowler than just maybe bowling the first couple of overs in a T20 with the new ball and then not bowling again. So that baffles me slightly. And so at that point there, I don't really think we get kind of a true representation of what Moeen could do, but I think it highlights kind of how selfless he is as a bloke. But he hasn't. It's not been great, is it? It's probably an E. He's gone down from the D, and it probably is an E for Moeen.
Oh, you've given him an E. I was going to put him in the D club, but I can see where you're going. He's tried his best for the team and the class.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he hasn't got the fruits of his labour, one might say. Now, moving on to the final pair. Now, these two, just the naughty boys in class, probably been sent out nearly every lesson.
Yeah.
They go from one lesson to the next. They're on. We used to have these things in school called like blue and green slips.
Right. Okay.
And then like if you were like super naughty, you'd get a red slip, and that basically means you were like excluded for like a week. Hey, less of that. I reckon I got whatever the lowest one was. I can't remember if it was a blue slip. I think blue slip, green slip, red slip.
Right. Okay.
I reckon I might have got a couple of blue slips and maybe one green slip in the whole of my secondary school life. Very minor. Had staying at break time. One of those kind of vibes.
Love it.
These two, however, they've actually been excluded.
Yeah, they're done.
They've been They only managed to get through a week of the term before their antics tripped them up.
Yeah, they brought fireworks into school or something like that and set them off in the bathroom, like a proper Balotelli kind of thing.
Pushed a few kids into the lockers in between lessons. Stolen someone's lunch money. And
That's where Shubman Gill went at the start of the tournament. He didn't have dengue fever. Sam Curran locked him in a locker. Right, it starts to make sense now.
It's some brilliant narrative. But yeah, Livingston didn't hit a single six. Now, for someone of his calibre, and the role that he plays in this England team, that's just entirely unacceptable, and I'm not here for it. He played 6 games, though.
You and I hit as many sixes in the 2023 World Cup as Liam Livingstone. That's a stat.
Remarkable fact.
That is a stat,
That is, yeah, true facts only, true stats only. And Sam Curran, I don't even want to touch on it. It's just, you just scratch through it. Just one to forget for Mr. Curran.
Yeah.
They're walking away. Well, I'm giving them Fs, but a U, that's it.
Yes.
Ungraded, isn't it?